What is going on, Fox and Tenacious Fox here, back for another review. Today we are going to be reviewing Pokemon Shiny Gold Sigma, or Ultra Shiny Gold Sigma, or Ultra Shiny Gold Sigma Mega Evolution, but you get the point. There's lots of names. For the purpose of this review, I'll be calling it just Shiny Gold Sigma or Shiny Gold. That being said, Shiny Gold Sigma is one of the most creative ROM hacks out there. It also has a crazy high difficulty in the important battles, a difficulty that is definitely rivals the well-known Drayano hacks. Story-wise, the game is amazing, and they implement different characters such as May, Brendan, Xenia, and a lot more into the game. However, this game has a glaring flaw, and that is that the game is far too buggy to the point of being game-ending. The game starts off just like every other Johto region game. You get to choose your own new rare Pokemon, quote unquote, from Professor Elm. Then you go to Professor Oak and he finds something interesting with you and gives you a Pokedex, followed by your rival stealing a Pokemon. However, some things that have been added to this chain of events is Xenia. Xenia essentially becomes a second rival that will battle you multiple times throughout the game, usually before gyms, and in one case, right after. And no, she doesn't heal you if you're playing Nuzlocke. That could easily be the end of it.
Atrocious was pretty... Oh no, do not battle me. I just lost. No. Oh my gosh. Are you serious?
The landscape of this game is the biggest noticeable difference early on, with some areas added for extra exploration. Cherry Grove has a few added areas to train Pokemon early on, and even adds a large island off the coast with a Pokemon Center and a host of new trainers. But of course you can't get to that until later in the game because you need surf. Between Olivine and Seowyn, there is a strip of land as well that has a short cave that allows you to travel between Olivine and Seowyn for the first time. Normally this wouldn't be required, as the 4th gym badge normally gives you access to using surf. But in this game, you're actually required to get the 5th badge before you can actually use surf. So they have accounted for that and created an extra storyline, which actually I think does add to the game. Eugene gets a pretty short-lived storyline in this game, and although his dialogue is basically the same as it is in Crystal version, he's basically worthless as ever. You will run into him every time that you see Suicune, which is realistically only about 3 or 4 times the entire game. Something that is nice with this game is that Entei, Suicune, and Raikou are all static encounters after setting them to life in Burn Tower. Suicune is unfortunately right inside 10 Tower, where I inadvertently ran into it, hoping to get an extra counter to add to our team. And then, of course, we did get an extra encounter, but I was not prepared to take on Suicune. Spoilers, Raikou is actually in Mount Mortar, which was, personally, I think is a really good idea because it gives Mount Mortar some actual meaning to the game. Normally, I just skip it, or just go in there for a moment just to get an encounter and dip. And Entei is weirdly in Ice Path, which doesn't really make any sense at all, but does kind of give you a little bit of extra pizzazz. Claire, of course, still refuses to give you a badge after you wipe the floor with her. By the way, make sure you train up a lot because she will strategize and wreck you if you're underprepared. In other words, a lot of her team has Dragon Dance. You must go to the Dragon's Den to take on the Dragon Challenge. In the normal games, this only involves finding the Dragon's Fang, and then you're considered worthy. And this ROM hack, however, you must face 3 Dragon Masters, who honestly are not that difficult, and then you find the Dragon Fang and deemed worthy by the Grand Master. Yes, you actually do have to go up to the Grand Master before she will actually give you the badge. You do get a badge and a Bagon though, so that's actually pretty dope. Team Rocket's story within the game is essentially the same, but they added Butch and Cassidy to Slowpoke Well, and they did also add both Jesse and James. Once you get into the Kanto region, Jesse and James will at multiple times attempt to steal your Pokemon, and in one instance actually succeed, resulting in Koga having to save you and your Pokemon. The implementation of Jesse and James helps to add additional plot to the game and effectively eliminate the staleness that plagued the original Gold and Silver, you know, in the Kanto region where there's literally no story. Continuing to have a storyline while grinding through badges better incentivizes the player to continue playing the game. Shiny Gold Sigma also succeeds in being one of the very few hacks to implement Mega Evolution into the game. Although Mega Evolutions really isn't explained, it has been added and it does give you an extra leg up on the extremely difficult battles, which there are a lot of. One thing the makers of this game could do better is actually explain how to use Mega Evolution though. Early in the game you do manage to get both Mega Stone A and Mega Stone Z's, but what isn't explained is what Pokemon need to hold which stone. Further muddying the process is that after defeating Team Rocket in the radio tower, you actually receive the Mega Ring, but you aren't told how to use it. Therefore, the only option you're left with is to use Google to find your answer. While this isn't the end of the world, it is kind of an inconvenience. Shiny Gold Sigmon does have an updated Pokedex with up to the Alolan Dex. However, the encounters are still extremely vanilla, so it's almost like the Pokemon past the Johto Dex aren't in the game, because you really won't be finding them in the wild, except with a few exceptions. This is actually really annoying, because it's like the game is teasing you with something amazing, but then swipes the cookie jar right from under you. To make matters worse, you actually face quite a few trainers that have these Pokemon, which is basically just rubbing it in your face that you can't have them. One thing that this game does need a better method of is grind. It does give you a lucky egg fairly early on in the game, but at the same time, the levels of the wild Pokemon are far lower than that of the trainers and gym leaders that you'll end up spending an hour or two straight grinding just to take them on. If you happen to be doing a Nuzlocke and you lose a Pokemon later in the game, you need to be spending a couple hours grinding those Pokemon back up. Implementing a way to rebattle trainers to help with XP rates and reduce the amount of time spent grinding would make an infinitely better experience to this game. Now finally, I do have to be fair to this game and come clean about something. I have yet to complete the game in its entirety. Normally I wouldn't review a game without having first completed it, but this is actually a special case. I have on 2 separate occasions attempted to complete this game, and each of these runs ended not because I stopped playing the game, but because of literal game-breaking glitches with the game. Remember when I was talking about Jesse and James stealing your Pokemon? Koga is supposed to come rescue your Pokemon and help you get your Pokemon back, but however, the first time I played this game, Koga never arrived, and I was stuck without any Pokemon and literally hard locked into this situation. The second time the game broke was actually much more recent. Couple weeks actually. This time I had just finished the Elite Form and the game decided that I had no battery file left. This effectively meant I could not advance past the Johto region and take on the extended content in the game. While this game does feature the Orange Isles, I personally have been unable to make it to that point in the game due to game-breaking bugs. It should be noted that both runs were attempted a few years apart and on complete different revisions of the game. Finally, I should also note that I'm not a programmer and I don't claim to be able to create a better game than what it currently is. I know that making a ROM hack is easier than it used to be, but it also still takes a level of time commitment that I definitely could not contribute. So this review is not to trash the makers of the game. It's just my personal experience with it. Overall, there are some features that could be added, such as an ability to rebattle trainers on a whim, but honestly the story of the game is good and things that have been changed from the original Gold and Silver have honestly made the game much more appealing. I enjoyed the game enough the first time despite not being able to finish it due to a bug that I replayed the game again, and I don't regret that. I would have even ignored that run completely in this review had I been able to finish the game the second time I played it. Furthermore, I'd probably be willing to give this game another shot in a few months if it gets some more revisions because the game is super enjoyable. However, despite my enjoyment with the game, a game that cannot be completed due to game-breaking bugs just does not deserve a good rating, and for that reason, I can only give this game a C-. However, I would still recommend trying to play the game in hopes that you have much better luck with the bugs than what I did. As always guys, I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like if you did. As always, Fox out.